Hello everyone, Mr. Chen here. In order to start preparing you for the SATs, Ms. Knight and Mr. Tai came up with the idea to start creating a series of videos that demonstrates how to tackle SAT type questions. I hope you find this video helpful, and if you have any feedback, please reach out and let us know. Alright, let's start by reading the question. So, the formula below is often used by project managers to compute E, the estimate time to complete a job, where O is the shortest completion time, P is the longest completion time, and M is the most likely completion time. E equals O plus 4M plus P divided by 6. Which of the following correctly gives P in terms of E, O, and M? And you have 4 answer choices. Looking at this, I would strongly encourage you to always identify what is the problem it's asking you to solve for. So if you read it again, you should be able to identify the fact that it's asking you to give P in terms of E, O, and M. Well, what does that mean? That means to isolate P in the formula or to find P. In other words, everything else they gave you beforehand, it was irrelevant. It was a distraction, it was a waste of time, it didn't matter. So we can go straight to the solving part. Given our equation, E equals O plus 4M plus P divided by 6. You should be realizing that the first thing you should probably do is to get rid of the denominator. So since it's being divided by 6, we are going to multiply by 6 to both sides of the equation. Next, we have to get rid of the O, minus O to both sides. And then minus 4M to both sides. And we end up with our goal of P being by itself is going to be equal to 6E minus O minus 4M. And if we compare for a second here, what we got right here is exactly the same as answer choice A. Hence, that is our correct answer. Another way to think about this problem is in terms of, well, if I know that I need to isolate P, and I'm looking at my 4 answer choices here. I see a negative O on A, positive O, and positive O in B, C, and D. I'm looking at this problem back up. If I want P by itself, I know that O has to be on the other side. So eventually, somewhere down the line, I know I have to subtract O somewhere around there. So I know that O has to be negative, and hence my answer choice is only possibly be A. And you know that you have to subtract 4M somewhere because of positive 4M. So my 4M has to be negative at the end of the day. And that's another way to think about the problem, to know that the correct answer choice has to be A. Let's go ahead and read the next problem. The width of a rectangular dance floor is W feet. The length of the floor is 6 feet longer than its width. Which of the following expresses the perimeter in feet of the dance floor in terms of W? First thing, what are we looking for? We're looking for express the perimeter in feet of the dance floor in terms of W. And you can see that for a second that all my answers only have W in it. So I know that I'm not going to use length in my calculation. I have to express everything in terms of W. Let's go ahead and draw a diagram to help us out to kind of visualize this problem. I have a rectangle, and I'm trying to find the perimeter. So you need to understand what a perimeter is. We should know that perimeter is the sum of the outside, or the distance around the shape. In this case, it's the sum of the 2 length plus the 2 width. It doesn't really matter how you label length and width. You can mix them around. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to start by labeling first. So I have my length and my width. And based on seeing the answer choices in the first place, I know that I cannot have length. I got to somehow replace it. So there's information in the problem to help us. The length of the floor is 6 feet longer than its width. We have a number sentence there. So the length of the floor is an equal sign in math. 6 feet longer than its width. 6 feet longer means to plus 6. Then its width, it's W plus 6. So length is equal to W plus 6. So now I can go ahead and label that on my diagram. We have successfully replaced the length and wrote it in terms of width. And now what we can do is let's add all four sides together to get our perimeter. So we know that perimeter is equal to W plus 6 plus W again plus W plus 6. Combine like terms, 1W, 2W, 3, and 4. So perimeter is equal to 4W and then plus 12. So that correct answer choice is B. Let's go ahead and read this problem. Y is greater than 2x minus 1. 2x is greater than 5. Which of the following consists of the y coordinates of all the points that satisfy the system of inequalities above? What's this problem asking us to solve for? Which of the following consists of y coordinates of all the points that satisfy the system of inequalities above? Once again, we can probably look at the answer choices to give us a clue on what we should be doing if you don't quite understand the language in the problem above. You notice here, all the y are isolated in the answer choices. That tells you you're probably going to do the same thing above. You're probably going to leave this y alone because it's already isolated, just like the answer choices. However, you're probably going to have to plug in something for x in order to have a simple right side of the inequality like the answer choices. And I think some of you might have already naturally saw the second inequality right here. And then, oh, okay, I know that to get x by itself, I just divide 2 to both sides. So x is greater than 5 over 2. And from there, if you know x is greater than 5 over 2, you can probably plug that 5 over 2 into your expression, the first expression. I'm going to draw a line to see what we're doing now. So I know that y is going to be greater than 2 times 5 over 2 minus 1. And we just simplify that. We know this is a 2 over 1. 2 divided 2 becomes 1. So I have y is greater than 5 minus 1. Y is greater than 4. So our answer here is going to be B. Let's talk for a second about what this looks like graphically, so you can understand what we just did here. So if I were to draw a coordinate plane, and I'm also going to try to graph this expression right here, the x is greater than 5 over 2. So you know that 5 over 2 is also same thing as 2.5. And if I have x so isolated, it means I'm drawing a vertical line. So I'm going to mark my 1, 2, 3. I know it's going to be a dashed line because there's no equal sign underneath that inequality. And x is greater than 2.5. So it's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I got to shade to the right. Greater than. And on the first expression right there, y greater than 2x minus 1, I'm sure that reminds you a lot of Algebra 1. It looks a lot like y equals mx plus b, our famous yo mama's ex-boyfriend linear equation. And we know that from there, we can kind of start at -1 as our y-intercept, go 2 up, 1, 2, and 1 over as our slope, and we can go and graph that. And of course, we have to shade that in because it's greater than, so we got to shade above. So now we got to look at the rest of the problem. The question is asking us which of the following consists of the y coordinates of all the points that satisfy the system of inequalities. So we need to ask ourselves, what's the y value of this part right here where both of the graphs exist and are both shaded in. So I just make that a little more obvious. I'm going to color it in blue. Right, this is the part that both graphs are shaded in already. So that's what we're looking for. We're asking ourselves, what's the minimum y value for that part? And you can see from the graph that right here it was 1, so approximately 2, 3, and 4. It gives you a baseline idea of what the values will be approximately, but to be exact, we have to do the algebra here in order to prove that. Number 8. f of x equals x to the third minus 9x. G of x equals x squared minus 2x minus 3. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to f of x divided by g of x for x is greater than 3? So right off the bat, I notice that I have to divide f of x by g of x. I'm also noticing that in my answer choices, the answer is much simpler than my expressions. So it tells me that I have to simplify. Now let's go ahead and write the actual expression and start simplifying. So f of x, x to the third, minus 9x, divided by g of x, x squared, minus 2x minus 3. In the numerator, you should be noticing that, oh, both of my terms have a GCF of x. They both have at least one x. I'm going to move this. So I'm going to take out an x, factor out an x, so I get x squared minus 9. And if you know your difference of square formula, you should be noticing, oh, I love it when I have a squared, x squared, minus another square, 9, which is also 3 squared. And I know that can further be simplified into x plus 3, x minus 3. So in the numerator, our form, after simplifying, will become x times x plus 3 times x minus 3. Let's look at a denominator. The denominator, we have a trinomial, and whether from Algebra 1 you remember Xbox, or maybe from Algebra 2 or pre-calculus, you remember the big X. I'm going to go with the big X. So we can do our big X to simplify. We know that x times x is x squared. Now we got to think of two numbers that multiply to -3 but add to -2. In this case, it's -3 and +1. Just to double check, right? -3 times x, that becomes -3x. And then we have 1 times x plus 1x, and that's going to equal -2x. So now our factor form is x minus 3 times x plus 1. X minus 3 times x plus 1. Okay, I'm going to write that over one more time here. X minus 3 times x plus 1. And now we know we can simplify. I see that there's an x minus 3 in the numerator and also in the denominator. Divide to become 1. So now our simplest version now becomes x times x plus 3 all over x plus 1. And that is our final answer. And in this case, that's answer choice D. Number 9, last question for this video. X minus 6 squared plus y plus 5 squared equals 16. In the xy plane, the graph of the equation above is a circle. Point P is on the circle and has coordinates 10, -5. If PQ is the diameter of the circle, what are the coordinates of point Q? Same as always, what are we looking for? What are the coordinates of point Q? We're trying to find where Q is on the coordinate plane. Now, this problem is definitely the hardest problem by far, but we have a lot of clues in this problem to help us solve it. First clue, let's see. I'm just looking at it, and PQ is a diameter of the circle. So we know that a circle, the diameter is through the center, from edge to edge to the center, and PQ is a diameter, the segment PQ. So that means that P is on one end and Q has to be on the other end. These 2 points are on the circle, but not in the center. Not in the center. Another clue we have here is that we see that point P is on the circle and have the coordinates 10, -5. And at this point, it'd probably be helpful to draw a coordinate plane to give us a visual where it is. So 10 comma negative 5 approximately, I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. On this AT, you don't have a lot of time. So do not be drawing beautiful creations of art for a coordinate plane. Just do a sketch. So 10 negative 5 is about right there. Right? I know that it's going to be a circle, and this is on the edge. So my circle is probably maybe in this realm, right, somewhere around here. Especially given the 4 choices I have. 2, negative 5, 6, negative 1, 6, negative 5, 6, negative 9. The circle is not going to be on this outer edge, because that would make my x value greater than 10. Versus, it has to be on this end, because all my x values, 2 and 6 are over here. So I know my circle is about that. Now, you learn this in geometry, actually, this circle equation, the equation of a circle, and these tell you different things. If you recall, and some of you be like, I do not recall. Yeah, okay, we don't remember. Let's remind you. So we know that an equation of circle looks like this: x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Then h and k are the center of your circle. H comma k. Okay, so we know that the center of circle here is pretty simple. It's 6 comma negative 5. In this case, in this problem, the center is going to be at 6 comma negative 5. So I'm kind of label that 5, 6, negative 5. And you can probably stop here. Because you can think about this for a second and be like, wait. So if if the center is at 6, negative 5, then C cannot be an option, because that can't be Q, because Q is on the edge of the circle, not in the center. And if we kind of check the other points for a second, 6, negative 1, 6, negative 1, that can't be Q, because then that and my point P originally, they would not make a diameter to go from 6 from here, because the diameter has to go through the center of the circle. So it can't be B. And let's check 6, negative 9. 6, negative 9. That would be all the way down here. Once again, that cannot be a diameter, because it didn't go through the center of a circle. So once again, that's eliminated. So the only choice that's viable in this particular problem is a 2, negative 5. 2, negative 5 be right there. And if we were to draw that circle, it would look something like this. Oh, it looks something like this. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks something like this. Yes, my picture is horrible. I apologize. But we notice that now, if we draw a line from P to Q, they actually go through the center of the circle, and that creates your diameter. Another way to do this problem is by realizing what the r squared in the circle equation stands for. It stands for radius squared. So let me zoom out for a second. In this problem, r squared was equal to 16. So if I square root both sides, I know r is equal to 4. That means my radius was 4. And we can further demonstrate this on the graph of the radius being 4. If you remember, radius is from the center of the circle to the edge. So we can see that this right here was, I believe, 6, negative 5. And this right here was 10, negative 5. And you can tell the difference from 6 through 10, obviously, is 4. And our coordinate for our final Q value was 2, negative 5. And once again, the distance from 2 for the x value to 6 is 4. So the other approach to find the coordinate of Q, was for us to count backwards 4 times from 6 to get 2, negative 5.